Hari Jaya. Yasodhanandana Bhajanaranjana. Yasodhanandana Bhajanaranjana. Yamunachirabhamachari. Yamunachirabhamachari. Jaya Radha Radha Kunjabiyari Jaya. Jaya Radha Radha Kunjabiyari Jaya Radha. Gopinjanabala Givarada Jaya. Gopi Janabala Vivarada Jaya. Yasodhanandana Bhajajanarandana Yasodhanandana Yasodhanandana Bhajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Yamunatira Vanachari Ayurada Madhava Kunjabiya Hari Ayurada Madhava Kunjabiya Hari Jayara. Jaya Prabhu Pada Jaya Prabhu Pada Prabhu Pada Jaya Prabhu Pada Nitago Haribo 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 Nitago Haribo Nitago. Jaya Vishnu Brahmasa Parivra Jakacharya Sudhasudha Srimad. His Divine Grace is Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Jaya Vishnu Paramahansa Parivra Jakacharya Sudhasudha Srimad. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Prem se kal Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Go Bhakta Vrinda ki. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhana ki. Vrindavan Dham ki. Mayapur Dham ki. Dwaka Dham ki. Jagannath Dham ki. Gangamaya Yamunamaya ki. Tassi Devi Bhakti Devi ki. Shri Nitai Gurachanda ki, Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Radha Shyamsundar ki, Nitai Gopi Manandi. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Gurave Gurachandaya, Zikaya Tadalaje, Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya, Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Ajnana Chimendasya, Gana Gana Salakaya, Chaksusumilita Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Mano Vishtan Stapita Yena Bhutale, Sanyarupa Kadama Yandadati Swapadantikan. Bandeyam Se Guru Sita Padakamala Se Guru Vaishnava Se Rupam Sakajatan Sahagana Raghunatha Vitatan Sajivan Sadhuita Savaduta Parijana Saiva Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devan Sri Radha Krishna Padasahagana Lalita Sri Vishaka Bhutam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanda Namasute Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radha Vrindavanishwari Resabam Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Krishna Vasudevaya Devaki Nandaya Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Vasudevam Sutan Devam Kansa Chanavamodanam Devaki Paramananda Krishna Vandi Jagaguru Namo Krishna Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivise Sanyabhadi Shatadishatarine Vanchaka Patarudhyascha Kripasinju Devacha Patitana Pavana Devyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanya Krishna Prayati Krishna Ya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Guru Vinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ananda Lilamaya Vigraya Magada Chavasundaraja Tasma Mahaprema Rasa Chaitanya Chandrayo Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. So I thank everyone for being here this evening for the Bhagavad-Gita class. So we are on the chapter 2 of the Bhagavad-Gita. Today text number 15. So Lord Krishna continue his instruction of Arjuna. So in the previous text, the Lord said, Matrasta Spasitu Kunteya Sitoshna Sukadukaha Agama Payino Sishya Tantitishabla Bharata, that the matras pasha, which means the contact of the senses with the sense objects, which produce happiness and distress. So it's just like the passing of winter and summer seasons, which means they come and go. And Lord Krishna told Arjuna that that one has to tolerate it. Why did the Krishna say one has to tolerate? Because the appearance of happiness and distress is temporary, just like the appearance of winter and summer season is temporary. They all come and go. So today verse is just a continuation of that. for a person who has tolerated the happiness and the stress, uh, what is the result that comes upon that person? So this is what Lord Krishna is going to talk in the next verse. So we can read together text number 15. Yam ina vyatayantyete purusham purusha sabha. So amrita tvaya kalpate. Yam ina vyatayantyete purusham purusha sabha. Samaduka sukam dhiram. So amrita tvaya kalpate. Yam ina vyatayantyete purusham purusha Samaduka Sukam Dhiram Swamita Tvaya Kalpate. Kanchan Ina Vyatayanchete Susva Samaduka Dhiram Tvaya Kalpate. Vatayanchete Kusam Sasa. Ina Vyatayanchete Sasa. Purusha Yam, one to whom he certainly na never yatayanti are distressing ete all this purusham to a person purusha al shaba, oh best among men, sama unaltered, which means equal, equanimity. Dukkha, distress, sukham, and happiness, dhiram, patient. Actually, it should be dhira means sober, a sober person. Sometimes they make kind of wrong translation. Dhiran should be a sober person. Yeah. Sa, he, Amita Twaya, for liberation, Kalpate is considered eligible. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Bhakti-Vedanta Samsita Prabhupada. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress, and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. Purport. Anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. In the Varnashram institution, the fourth stage of life, namely the renounced order, sannyas, is a painstaking situation, but one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts the sannyas order of life in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arise from having to sever family relationships, to give up the connection of wife and children. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duties as a Kshatriya, he is advised to persevere, even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife as well as old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet, for a higher cause, he took sannyas and was steady in the discharge of higher duties. That is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. So, the main two things which Krishna is pointed out in this verse, we say Yam Hinam Vyatayantite Purusham Purusasaba Samaduka Sukam Dhiram So Amita Tvaya Kapate. The one who sees the equality in happiness and distress, and who is able to tolerate the, who is not disturbed, the happiness and distress, and is steady in both. Dhiram. Dhiram means to be sober or to be steady. Such a person is called Amrita Tvaya Kalpate, is eligible for liberation, which means how do one progress on the path of liberation. So many, as Prabhu pointed out in the report here, that some things in life are difficult. Some things in life gives distress situation, and some things in life gives happiness. But someone who is in the spiritual progress, who is on the path of spirituality, must learn how to tolerate both circumstances, which means the circumstance of distress and circumstance of happiness. Both one must learn to tolerate them, which means there shouldn't be attachment to either one. When there's attachment to distress, normally we lament. For example, we are rendering our devotional service and something happened to us, and then we start, like let's say we suffer some loss or something, I will start lamenting, oh, why me? Oh, Krishna, why did you allow this to happen? You know, or why does this have to happen to me? After all, I am serving Krishna. And serving Krishna, then there should be no problem, isn't it? After all, uh, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we are told that when we start chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we become happy. The motto is chant and be happy. But we find that uh, chant and be happy is the motto, usually, but devotees are not happy. Even though they are chanting, but they're not happy. So what is this chant and be happy and devotees are not happy? When you look at the world, you find devotees are the most miserable people in this world. They are so unhappy. And also, sometimes we may be in a situation whereby we feel happiness, we feel some joy, because sometimes, there's always some circumstance whereby happiness comes and you feel so joyful. So you feel some joy, you become very, very happy. And then you think, oh, this is nice life. This life of Krishna consciousness is so good because the happiness is there. But Krishna is saying, he says, Samaduka Sukham, that one has to see the quality of happiness and distress. That's what Krishna said. Because in the previous verse, he said, Matras Pashas to Conte, yeah, Sitoshna, you know, Dukkha Sukha. Is it that the happiness and distress, they are passing the appearance and disappearance. It's just like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer season. And one must learn to one must tolerate it. Don't titik well. Titik means to tolerate. Tolerate happiness and tolerate distress, which means not to be attached to either situation. And the Lord says that for one who have learned to see the quality of happiness and distress, which is all a situation of life, and is not attached to both situations, then such a person is a candidate fit for liberation. Amrita Traya Kapte, a candidate who is fit for liberation. Hmm? So when the Lord says, matters partial in the previous verse, which means the contact of the senses with sense objects, that they appear and disappear like winter and summer. So therefore, one must learn to tolerate. One must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed, because it's difficult to tolerate. Tolerance is always very, very difficult. But Krishna said one must tolerate without being disturbed. So, by having this vision of tolerance, then one can be a candidate that is fit for liberation. You know. Okay. Few more things, because now it's not that Krishna is just telling Arjuna some, you know, some dry philosophy, because after all, Arjuna had been lamenting. Arjuna was full of grief that now he's going to have to fight his relatives, his elders, his gurus. He's going to have to fight with them. He's going to have to wage a war with them. This is something that is, it's a terrible situation that you have to fight your family members. Hmm? But one thing, Krishna addressed Arjuna, Purusha Shava, that, oh, you are the best among men. So why does Krishna address Arjuna as Purushashaba? Address him as best among men? Because Arjuna is a category of those who understand the ultimate reality of life. They understand the ultimate reality of life, which means they are not ordinary person to be called Purushashaba, best among men, best among persons. Hmm? So which means that Krishna telling Arjuna that a wise person do not lament for the living or the dead. Then Krishna explains, the Lord explains the eternality of the soul. Because in the furthermore in the text number 12, Krishna told Arjuna, Natu Abraham, Natu Jason, was that? Yeah, yeah, which means never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor this man, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. And what is that? That the Atma, that Atma Tattva, the science of the soul. Because the soul is always existing. Whereas the body is a temporary element. The body is a vehicle that just carries the soul from, for a temporary situation. But the soul itself is eternal. So therefore, Krishna said, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these people, nor in the future shall any of us. So any of us cease to be, will always be existing. That is the ultimate science of the soul. Hmm? So therefore, where does lamentation comes? Because the soul is always existing, so lamentation is only pertaining to the body, which is temporary. So a wise person do not lament for that. Hmm? Is that a wise person do not lament for something. Hmm? That's why for the next verses in this chapter, Christians will continue talking about the eternality, of the soul. Hmm? So this particular verse, which we are reading today, text 15, is actually the qualification for spiritual freedom. How to see the equality in all situation of life, and then the situation of happiness or in the situation of distress. Samaduka Sukam. See the equality. How one sees everything as equal, and therefore one is not disturbed or elated. One is not disturbed by distress, nor does one become joyful by by happiness. One sees the quality of both. Then, in this way, the path for liberation can be open to one. So, which means that a person who is ruled by the bodily dualities, because happiness and distress, this is dualities of life. So, when one is ruled by the bodily, by this duality, then he cannot be steady in the spiritual life. A person cannot be steady in Krishna consciousness. Krishna, at the end of this chapter, the Lord talks about sthita pratigyan, which means remain situated on the path of yoga. But you cannot remain situated on the path of yoga if you are ruled by dualities. These dualities of happiness and distress. Hmm? So sometimes distress will stop one, and sometimes happiness will intoxicate one. So therefore, Krishna says a true dhira, a sober person, a sober person is not conquered by either one of them. So Sama, was that? Sama, Sukaduk, and Diram. Diram, a person who is a sober person. So in Krishna consciousness, in spiritual life, we have to practice being sober. That we have to become Dhira. And to be Dhira means one become a wise person, a truly wise person. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that you are in the category of Dhira, those who are soberly minded person. Why? Because Arjuna is not an ordinary person. That's why Krishna addressed him as Purusha Shaba. You are best among men. You are a Krishna devotee. To be a devotee of Krishna, one has to be the topmost spiritualist. Only a topmost spiritualist become a devotee of God because it has rise above the three modes of material nature. Because the three modes of material nature is always manipulating one. It's always manipulating one, whereby sometimes you feel happiness and sometimes you feel distress. According to the modes, if we are governed by the Tamagun, usually distress, and if you are covered by Rajagun, it's mixed happiness and distress. And if you are governed by Sattvagun, it's happiness. But a devotee is rising above the modes of nature. It's raised above. Hmm? So therefore, Krishna said, so when he said this verse, Ete means those persons, who's not bothered by heat, by cold, by happiness, by distress, and all other experiences born from sense contact. Matra means the senses. Matra spasha, which means the object coming in contact with the senses. Because these senses and the object, all these things, they are not the self. It's not the self. These are just events which are occurring in the field of the body and mind. You see, all these things according to the body, according to the position of the body, according to the position of the mind, all these things comes about. But again, the self is above the body, the self is above the mind. Hmm? So Krishna said, now Vyatayanti means do not disturb, not torments, no agitation. Now, Krishna does not say that the devotee's body will not feel heat, cold, or hunger, insult, fatigue, pain, or emotional pressure. Krishna didn't say that one is not going to feel that. Because you have material body, you're going to feel the pain. You're going to feel the cold. You're going to feel all these things. Hmm? But what the Lord is saying, He said that such experiences do not overthrow His higher intelligence. So this is the difference between the feeling and being ruled by feeling. So the feeling is there that, yeah, we feel, we feel cold, we feel the heat, we feel happiness, we feel hunger, we feel all these things. So the feeling is there, but a person is not ruled by that feeling. So you can see the difference. One is not ruled by such feeling. Hmm? So Krishna addressed Arjuna as the best among men. So Krishna is reminding Arjuna that you are not an ordinary person who should be swept away by weakness. So live according to your higher nature. Live according to your higher nature. So basically, Krishna reminding Arjuna that don't be ruled by these petty feelings of, oh, I'm going to kill my relatives. This is going to happen, that's going to happen. Krishna is telling Arjuna that don't be ruled by that. After all, what is the purpose of this battle? The purpose of this battle is to serve a higher purpose. Is to serve a higher purpose. That's the purpose of this battle. So the Lord is giving this instruction that the equality does not mean that happiness and distress are externally identical. It means the devotee sees both as temporary and therefore does not build his identity around either of them. Pleasure is not allowed to produce forgetfulness, and distress is not allowed to produce despair. Because when there's happy situation, the tendency is to be forgetful, and the tendency is to be complacent when there is happiness. At the same time, when there is distress, the tendency is to feel despair. The tendency is to feel hopelessness when there is despair. The Christian says one has to rise above this thing. One has to be, the, the tolerance must be there, and one has to rise above it. If one does so, then Amrita Toya Kapate, one can be fit for immortality, for liberation. So which means that just by the practice itself, it's not that one is already situated, one is already liberated, but by such method of tolerance, then one can be in a position, or one can be qualified to be put on the path of liberation. So as La Prabhupada explains in this purport, that one who can tolerate the onslaught of distress and happiness is eligible for liberation. And as La Prabhupada, he applies this directly to Arjuna's Kshatriya duty. Although fighting relatives and beloved persons is painful, Arjuna should not abandon his prescribed duty when that duty is meant to satisfy Krishna. So the key is the satisfaction of Krishna. Even though the duty itself may be very, very difficult, the duty may be difficult, but what is the goal of the duty? What's the purpose of the duty? It's for Krishna's satisfaction. So Srila Prabhupada, so he was given the example of Sri Chaitanya Prabhu, that he took sannyas at the age of 24. He was young, and his wife that time, she was young lady, like 16-year-old lady, very, very young woman, Vishnu Priya, very, very young. And his mother, Mother Sachi, elderly lady. But Chaitanya Prabhu took sannyas, even though he had his young wife and his also elderly mother. He left them behind now without taking into consideration that who's going to take care of them? The young wife and the elderly mother, who's going to take care of them? But Mahaprabhu, he took sannyas because after all, Krishna, Krishna take care of everyone after all. So Mahaprabhu took sannyas because there is a higher purpose to fulfill. There's a higher purpose, even though it may be difficult, but there's a higher divine purpose. That's why such taking of sannyas is necessary. After all, how could humanity be delivered? How could human? So Mahaprabhu took so many different considerations before decided to take sannyas. That this taking of sannyas is very much necessary. Hmm? So the Vaishnava principle means that the tolerance is not merely enduring discomfort. Tolerance means not allowing discomfort to stop one's service. So various acharyas, they also shed some light to this verse, various acharya. Slavishwana Chakravarti Thakur, so he explains that uh, by practicing tolerance with proper discrimination, what the experience of sense objects gradually ceases to give distress, and then one becomes qualified for liberation. So his emphasis is practical and psychological. Repeated spiritual discrimination weakens the power of sense contact, which means the repeated spiritual discrimination. And then Ramanujacharya, he stresses courage and duty. The person who knows pleasure and pain, who knows that pleasure and pain are inevitable, he performs duty suitable to his station without attachment to results, and is not troubled even by harsh bodily contacts, becomes fit for immortality. So this is especially relevant to Arjuna, who must fight as a Kshatriya without selfish uh, motive. And then another choice, then Shilashita Swami, he says that rather than trying to adjust or purify every sense contact externally, one should tolerate them. The one whom sense objects cannot overpower and who remains equiposed through spiritual knowledge becomes fit for liberation from birth and death. So the emphasis here again and again is the tolerance. That's the emphasis. So Srimadevacharya, he highlights detachment from the senses and determination. Equanimity is not merely a mood, it comes from relinquishing bodily identification and becoming situated in the soul's inherent spiritual nature. So which means total differentiation from all bodily identification. And as Shankaracharya also said, so the verse through realization of the eternal self. When one has realized the eternal self, pleasure and pain no longer torment him, and such a forbearing person becomes fit for immortality. So this is what various acharyas are saying. So a spiritually intelligent person, patient and equal in happiness and unhappiness, becomes eligible for the highest goal beyond old age, disease, and death. Now, there is some hidden danger here, that the happiness is also a disturbance. It's not that one has to tolerate only the stress that comes, but also the happiness also have to be tolerated. So the happiness and distress. Dukkha, suffering and pain, happiness, joy. That also has to be tolerated. So what is the logic behind this? What's the logic? How the happiness also have to be tolerated, because after all, it mentioned that the happiness is also a danger. Usually we think that only distress disturbs us. Normally we think that way. But Krishna says Samaduka shall come equal in distress and happiness. This means happiness can be as spiritually dangerous as suffering. Distress may make one complain, but happiness may make one forget Krishna. Distress can produce bitterness, and happiness can produce complacencies. Both are there. Both are tests. So which is kind of, so which means one has to be like a paramahansa in order to really rise above. Yeah, because when you're saying that yes, if I'm unhappy, if there's a distress, if there's suffering, I should tolerate it. I should tolerate that. Okay, that's fine. But again, you are saying that if I'm happy, I should also tolerate that. What does this mean? If I'm happy, I should not feel kind of elation that the happiness has come. Should if happiness is come, like we get good results in what we are doing, shouldn't we feel some kind of elation, some kind of jubilation that yes, that this is good? But Krishna said no. Regard happiness and distress as equal. That's what Krishna is saying. See happiness and distress as equal, and treat them as equal things. So that's why I say Sama Dukkha Sukha. If you can treat happiness and distress as equal, then you can be a fit candidate for the path of liberation. Because when there's happiness, the tendency is to forget Krishna. The tendency is to be complacent. Oh, this is good. It's so nice. There's a tendency is to forget that yes, everything is coming because of the mercy of God. It's just like Prabhupada will say that when something bad happened to me, I feel very, very bad. I feel very, very sorry, full of hopelessness. But when something good is happening to me, I feel, oh, this good thing is happening to me because of my expertise, because I'm expert. Because I'm expert, so good things is happening. So which means we don't see God behind, good things. That's why we don't see God. We don't give the glory to God. We only learn how to accuse God when bad things happen to us. But when good things happen to us, we don't give glory to God. We don't. We just say, oh, because I'm so expert. So this is happening because I'm good in what I'm doing. I'm a smart person. You see? So the tendency is to forget God, to be complacent when good things is happening to us. So therefore, Krishna said, do not be swayed by happiness that comes. Just as he said, do not be swayed by distress. So it says, Samadukas will come. And Dhiram, Samasuka Dukkam Dhiram. A sober person, he is because he sees the quality of both of these situations of life. He sees the quality of them. So therefore, he remains sober. He remains unaffected by them. After us, as the Lord said, Shitoshna. So in the winter and summer season, they come and go. So happiness and distress in life come and go. So therefore, one remains steady in both situations. One is not affected by both circumstances. One is not affected by them. So in the So in the text, in the future text, in the further text on, in the text 238, so Krishna tell Arjuna to fight while holding happiness and distress, loss and gain, victory and defeat to be equal. So acting in that consciousness frees one from sinful reaction because the action is done for Krishna, not for personal enjoyment. So we know that when Chaitanya Prabhu, when he was giving his prime teaching in the, uh, in the devotional life, especially Mahaprabhu was giving the how to one chant properly. How do one chant the holy names properly? He said, Trina Pisunichi Nantaru Taru. Eva Shaisnana, Manina Manadena Kitaniya Sudari. That one who is humbler than grass, more tolerant than a tree, not expecting honor, and ready to give honor to others, can very easily chant the holy name constantly. So you have to have this freedom freedom of attachment to us, this situation of like this duality of happiness, the feelings of happiness and the feeling of distress. The freedom of attachment must be there. And when there's a freedom of attachment, then Amrita Toya Kapate, then you can be a person who is fit for liberation. Hmm? So so tolerance is not cultivated merely to become psychologically calm. It is cultivated so that nothing can stop the chanting of the Lord's holy name. So Srila Prabhupada explained that such tolerance and humility arise from being above the bodily conception of life. One understands, I am not this material body, but a spirit soul. So when we understand that we are not this material body, we are a spirit soul, so we have to act always on the soul platform. We have to act always on the soul proper. And when we act proper on the soul proper, we know that yes, uh, nothing can affect the soul. Whatever is happening is only happening to the material body. And whatever is happening to the material body, it's all temporary situation. So if you learn to do that, that yes, nothing can affect the soul, nothing can affect. The soul is totally above whatever is happening to the material body. And one can focus oneself to for the path of liberation. Amrita Toya Kapote. So that is the essential teaching that is being mentioned in this text. That a person fit for immortality is one who has become too deeply rooted in the eternal soul and service to Krishna to be uprooted by the alternating to be uprooted by the alternating winds of happiness and distress. So which means the being grave, spiritual being grave, being turning one vision inward. That yes, this thing is happening, happiness, distress is coming, and all that. But I, the soul, am not. I'm beyond all these things. I cannot be affected. And what am I? I am eternal servant of Krishna. And as long we are not affected by both happiness and distress, then Krishna consciousness is is easy to practice without any disturbance. Okay, thank you very much. I know this kind of philosophical thing which I'm trying to explain, philosophical principle. So thank you. Is there any question? So Krishna is speaking. Krishna is Jagat Guru. Just as we say, Krishna Bande Jagat Guru. the world, the spiritual master of the whole world, Jagaguru Krishna. So he's speaking this ultimate spiritual knowledge, this ultimate spiritual principle that yes, we should learn to tolerate. We should tolerate every situation, happiness and distress. Tolerate it. Don't be affected by both situations. Okay, thank you very much. Want to ask a question? Yeah. Yeah. Well, as we've been explaining here, that because both happiness and distress, they will come of their own accord. Because that's the nature of material world, material life. Happiness, distress will come of its own accord. So just like as we're in the winters, now we're in the summer season now. We know that it's very, very hot. So we feel discomfort when it's very, very hot in the summer season. And also in the winter season, when it's very, very cold, discomfort is there. But sometimes, like, we're in the AC, if the AC is there, so you feel good, because there's a relief from the heat. You feel good. But you know that the moment you go outside, they become hot again. But this yogi, he rises above that. It's not, that's why the yogis, you see them in the winter time, they will go to the Himalayas or the cold area, and they will stay they will take cold bath, stay in the icy environment. So because they've learned to study their mind. It's not that they don't feel the cold, they feel it, but they learn to study their mind because they know that they themselves, being the soul, they are above the bodily feeling, whatever the feeling the body expresses. So they've learned to study the mind. There's a stira. Stira means to study, the steadiness of the mind. Sita pratigyan, that's what Krishna is telling Arjuna, that how one has to be situated in yoga. So, and also, just like in the winter, they put themselves in the icy environment. And in the summertime, when it's blazing hot, like here sometimes we have 45-degree, 50-degree, hot weather. And in that hot environment, then they put fire around themselves. They put fire around when it's already hot, and then they lit fire again around themselves. So what is the purpose of that? Because they want to study the mind. They want to study the mind that yes, the body is feeling this great discomfort, but they are beyond that. They are not the body. So they rise above the duality. So that's the whole process of yoga, how one can rise above the duality. Because that's why the Lord said, this verse until the next one, we're going to be hearing the Lord say, Abavo Vidate Babu and Vidate Shata. The Lord's explain again and again. And that's why Krishna concept what that love when Srila Prabhupada was here teaching us. So Srila Prabhupada again and again said that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. But until we actually that even though we are hearing again and again that we are not this body, but still we still act on the bodily platform. So therefore, we have to be reminded again and again and again that you are not this body, you are not this body. And until this become established within our consciousness that we are really not this body, then it will really be difficult to really practice Krishna consciousness in reality. Because Krishna consciousness is on the soul platform. It's on the spiritual, it's not on the material platform. It's on the soul platform. For example, one of the principles is that when a devotee sees another devotee, he becomes very, very happy. He becomes very, very jubilant because he sees another devotee. He becomes very, very jubilant. Or when he enters the temple, he sees the Lord. He raises his hand, he jumps, he dances, he raises his hand. He becomes extremely joyful. But that has to be on the spiritual platform, not on the material platform. But because we are not on the spiritual platform, when you see another devotees, you don't feel the joy. You don't feel there's no feeling of joy there. It's like, who is he? Why is he here? What is this? There's no joy because we're not on the spiritual platform. It's all bodily identification, taking you at this body. So it's like Prabhupada again and again in his lectures say, you are not this body, you are not this body, you are spirit soul. And spirit soul is part of Krishna, it's part and parcel of Krishna. And it's meant to serve Krishna eternally. So when are we going to come to that understanding? When are we going to come to that platform? When are we going to come to that soul platform, to that spiritual platform? When are you going to come to that? So that will require discrimination. Again and again, hear from the spiritual authorities and learn them as the Lord sent here, these various conditions of life, whereby being rising yourself above the dualities of life, happiness, distress, all these things, rising above the dualities of life. Then you can come to the soul platform, the spiritual platform. Then Amrita to Kapate, what is part of liberation? Krishna, the part of, which means the part of Krishna consciousness. That's a part of liberation. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it took sannyasi. It becomes sannyasi. Yeah. Yeah, they do the same. Well, because we are novice. Novice. Yeah. We haven't come to the platform of those great personalities. But we're supposed to come to that platform, to that spiritual platform. But we are not. We are acting on the bodily platform. That is the reality. Everything is all based on calculation. What I have, what's my position. It's a material platform, not spiritual platform. So therefore, purpose always say that our temple, therefore, purpose say our temple is like a hospital. Whereby what is hospital? Everyone is sick. Everyone is sick. That's why you go to the hospital. Everyone is sick. And also everyone is a mad person. Like Bhakti-yoga said that this material world, everyone is mad, thinking they are this body. So therefore, so in the math, everyone is sick. Now, how much are we responding to the treatment? That's another thing. So how we respond to the treatment is another thing. So but they are still their material body. They are material. They don't understand. They don't know what is soul. They're material platform. They think they are this body. They think they're going to go to the heaven and enjoy forever. They don't know this the concept of service to God, Christian, being a Christian servant. Babaji's also have beard. So there's nothing about the beard. But Prabhupada wants us to keep clean, shave clean. Yeah, many devotees also keep beer. That's nothing. Not beer is not a big deal. Whatever it is, I don't pay attention to that. I don't pay attention to it. So anyway, it's a lot. My Prabhu say, Madana Najanana Sundarim Kavita Vachakadish Kamaye. Mama Jamani sorry Babata Bhakti Kitai. My dear Lord, I do not want no money, no words, no followers, no Sundari. I don't want to be known as Kavi. What do I want? Just to be Mama Jamani sorry Babata. Both have to be, you know. But in our situation, I want Adana, I want more money, more words, more this. So how we practice Krishna consciousness? No, we are not practicing just. So we are still far from the from the process. Yeah, we are far from it. Yeah, we should just the Goswamis of Vrindavan, they came to Vrindavan. They see they're living under the trees. They're living under one tree after the other. They don't stay in the same tree every night. They go one tree, the next night you go to another tree because they don't want to be attached to one particular tree. So they will go to another tree. You know, even though they are called Mandala Party, but they renounce everything and they simply roaming in the forest of Vrindavan. Every night stay under the trees. And what did they do? Here are the Bajadevike Chalalite Enada Sunakuta. Where are you, Krishna? Where are you, Radhika? Bajadevi, that's what they're doing. Crying out every day in the forest of Vrindavan. That's what that's what they are doing. So we have to be like them. We have to come to that platform. That's the requirement. I think it was in Atlanta when Prabhupada was there, and the devotee asked Prabhupada that Srila Prabhupada, how can we please you? And Srila Prabhupada replied, you can please me if you develop love for Krishna. He didn't say that, oh, do this. Please me if you develop love for Krishna, you can please me. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.